that all of the layers in between are laying in the direction that you want them to lay, right? You want to make sure that your pocket bag's not like folded up in half like that when you start to put it together, right? You want to make sure that it is all laying down and into the jacket. I had a number of questions on it when we were doing our first fittings, people struggling to put the canvas in. What's the most important thing to match up when you're putting your canvas in? The roll line is the most important thing to match up, right? You kind of have, when we cut it out, I gave myself a bit of a horizontal line so we can figure out, you know, how far up and down it goes here. If it slides a little slightly up or down, it's not going to be the end of the world, but the roll line is really important. So to be able to match the roll lines, you have to have done a stitch line through your roll line, right? Because you put wax on the wrong side of this, so you have to do the stitch line so that you can see it from this side. Alternately, when you come to the canvas, it's really important that you have the roll line marked on that side of the canvas so that when you're putting them together, you can make sure that they do actually match, right? I like to start to figure this out with the self fabric facing up to me. Again, I've kind of figured out my height up and down, made sure that my pocket bag's facing down into the jacket, and I could just use a couple pins. There, my roll line's matching up. If your roll line's not matching up, then you can pick up the whole front and put it back down. I hate this pin. It's really it's bent and it's too big. There we go. And there we go. 2 or 3 pins along the roll line just help to hold that part of it in place, right? Do you mind taking the jacket off of the shimmy there? Just throw it on the podium there, and we'll go on over it. So again, we want to put this in with some roundness. I like to put 2 pins in at my shoulder, one at the high shoulder, one more near the shoulder tip, and then you can put another pin in just at the top of the side seam here on the back, just to hold that into place, right? Kind of just, again, thinking about getting some roundness into the whole thing. Take some of your heavy basting thread. And I'm giving myself a really long bit to be able to baste with that has been folded over itself, but not all the way. A lot of people were basting in their canvas with a double thread, which can be cause for a lot of lumps and bumps when you're finishing things off. So as you're sewing it and you're finishing it, it is actually only a single thread that you should be doing the basting with, not a double thread that you should be basting with. I like to start first about 2 inches or so down, 2.5 inches or so down from the shoulder line, and about 1.5 inches or so in from the neckline. Again, also, don't tie knots in this. If you haven't tied knots, you can kind of go back and easily loosen up or undo some stitches if you need to. Lets you kind of back off if you've got some. You want to go parallel to the roll line here. So we're not going beyond the roll line, we're still staying into the front of the jacket. We're not going into the lapel, yes, if you will. It's hard for me to not stand in front of this. Can you guys still see?
Yeah.
And kind of running parallel to the center front. And stopping in and up and behind. Yes, I'll answer your question just a second.
It's okay.
Wait, did you have a question?
No.
No?
Yeah, I was just trying to capture the moment.
Capture the moment?
Yeah.
I do still have the full muslin in the supply store that has the black stitching on it. If you want to pull that one out with the darker stitching that's on it, I kept that one together as a piece in the store for you. Then we're doing our second stitch. Again, at least 2 inches, 2.5 inches down from the shoulder, in about 2 inches from the armhole. And this time we are going somewhat parallel to the armhole. It's the horsehair that we're going through that's making it knot up like this. If you really struggle with the knotting up, remember that that's what the wax is for in your kit, the beeswax in your kit, as opposed to the white wax, which is for marking. The beeswax is to help with thread that knots up. Kind of coming to about the far edge of your canvas in the chest here, and then you kind of have to feel through. You want to follow just inside the edge of your canvas as you work your way back down the jacket. And some of your basting will go right through and over top of your pockets, and that's totally fine. And then lastly, we would just want to do a couple of stitches between the two, right over top of the chest. You guys got it? Can you see all the way? You kind of follow along the armhole and then swing back around down. Okay. Can you guys see what we're doing way over there?
Not really.
Not really? So I've kind of followed parallel to the armhole a little bit and then kind of coming back down around here, kind of just inside from that. You can feel with your finger where the inside edge of the canvas, and you're kind of just catching inside that edge of the canvas, right? Idea is you're trying to catch the canvas, you're pulling the canvas in, right? So if you're not catching the canvas, then you need to move farther in, right? And then I'm just going to do a couple of stitches between the two in the chest area, just to help hold things in place in this area. It's a little bit challenging to get all the way through the pocket bag, all the way through the layers of the canvas, and not through the Judy or the Jimmy, but you can start to feel that with your fingers. So just a couple of stitches there, right between the chest. Again, remember, did you notice I did a row going down? I did a second row going down. I did a third row going down. So you don't want to be going up, down, up, down. You want to go all in one direction, right? You guys are being mean. Right? Getting that nice roundness inside there. And then we can take our pins out. And I like to work with the lapel in the center front of the jacket facing away from me, and roll the lapel over top of itself back towards you. Do a couple rows of stitching kind of with it rolled over your finger. That starts, to roll the lapel back over in the opposite direction for you, so you get a sense for how the lapel rolls back. And with the jacket, we went down, 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 and with the lapel, we're doing the opposite. You go up and down, you go back and forth in opposite directions. And, you'll see when I'll explain when we're finishing this later why that's important, but we are doing the opposite here. There we go. So we're getting a bit of a wave, right? Increase, remember that? Right? So we'll take our break. When we come back from our break, we will just talk for a minute about working with we'll look